Much of what we learn about science, nature, and the environment happens outside of school and beyond the walls of museums, zoos, and nature centers. I have worked as an independent environmental professional for many years and know there are others like me who interact with the public in communities worldwide. On the Talaterra podcast, we discover who these professionals are, what they do, and how they create change. Why do I focus on independent professionals? I focus on them because they move freely through communities. They move freely between schools, organizations, businesses, programs, and other informal learning environments. They are positioned to meet the public where they are, and this is powerful. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Tania Marien. Today, my guest is Saurabh Mithal. Saurabh is the founder of Passionately Curious. I invited Saurabh to the show to talk about the journey of the freelancer. And as you know, I have a special interest in environmental professionals who work independently. I'm curious about who they are, what they do, and how they enhance the public's relationship with the outdoors. I'm curious about how the public learns about the environment outside of the classroom. I'm curious about the initiatives independent environmental professionals start. I want to learn about their successes, challenges, and frustrations. Saurabh works with independent professionals, solopreneurs, or freelancers. He helps them with marketing. Not spammy marketing, but marketing that is based on empathy and connection. And this is why I invited Saurabh to join us today. Welcome, Saurabh. It's so nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Tania. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Really happy to be here.
Thank you. Let's start with your journey. What did you do before launching Passionately Curious and becoming an independent professional yourself?
I had a very, I don't know, not a typical, but I was a very obedient child in my childhood. When my parents said that you have to come first in the class, the rank one matters the most. Like my schooling went like this. Like if somebody would ask, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want to come first in my class." But I was good at academics altogether. I did what typically Indian parents ask you to do, which is like do your engineering or do your MBA, and I did all of that. And at that time, yeah, I didn't have much guidance in terms of customized careers or the things that I'm working on now with people. I didn't have much resources there, so I did that, and then I joined an investment bank after my MBA. And when I joined there, like a lot of senior people who were like 10, 20 years ahead of me came to talk to us, our batch, and I just didn't feel inspired. Like I just didn't feel like, hey, if I work really, really hard for the next 15 years, I'll be this guy talking to the new bunch. And I had a thought that I thought about who would I be wanting to be like in the next 10, 15 years. And then I thought of my professors, couple of professors at my MBA college. So I thought, yeah, I don't know, like I was very young at that time, but somehow that thought stayed with me, and I left the investment bank, started teaching, uh, had a lot of like navigation in my journey. I taught at the university as a adjunct professor. I started teaching for MBA entrance exams because I was good at it, good at that. Yeah, tried my hand at PhD academic research, which didn't really work for me. So I did this for like around 5-6 years, and then in 2017 was the first time I just plunged into entrepreneurship. I had done advanced meditation training, and I thought like I wanted to teach the meditation I know without any religious connotation, without any like I will become your guru kind of connotation, just like, hey, you pay me and you take it and you do it. But I had no idea about self doubt, about procrastination, about marketing, about sales. about anything. Like I had zero idea, and so I just jumped into it alone, thinking that I'll figure it out, and I didn't. So it crashed, like. But it was a phase which like is like whenever I'm struggling, I'm like, okay, I'm going towards that phase, and that has become a kind of a reference point for me. Whenever I'm struggling with resistance, I can just see like you're going there, and that. So but what happened out of that phase is that I got to know about, like, one day I was very stressed about where am I going with my life, and then I knew about design thinking, and then I was like, is there something like applying design thinking to your life, like is there something like that? And I googled it, and I found Designing Your Life, the book by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. So and through that I found Creative Life, through that I found Tim Ferriss and all. Like, it just gave me a lot of mentors and people I can look up to, and people who were like telling me the kind of life I want to live. So that that is how. And like in 2018 I started Passionately Curious, and it had its own ups and downs over time. But I think couple of years into it, I found Seth Godin and Stephen Pressfield. And I think Stephen Pressfield was a big deal breaker for me, because he was the first guy in my life ever who said that the things that you are suffering from, the things that you are struggling with, I also struggle with. And until that time, no one said that to me. Like, everyone saw me struggling, but no one said, hey, I also have self doubt. I also have struggle with, like, everybody showed as if they had their things together. And I was like, there is something wrong with me. And then Pressfield is like, you know what, I went from East Coast to West Coast 13 times in my life. I was divorced at 40 and I could not write a book. And I just cried when I read War of Art for the first time. I just kept crying. And when he said, like, I will tell you how to come out of it, I will teach you, I was like a drowning man looking for a rope. And he said, like, be a pro. So since 2020, that is what my life has been about, to try to be a professional as much as possible. And then I found Seth, and he changed everything for me, because he was the person I was looking for all my life without knowing that I was looking for him. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been my journey so far. Yeah.
Well, I bet a lot of people listening can relate to your journey. And I love how you said when you were struggling, you knew that you had to go in that direction. You mean you had to keep going, that was a sign that you were on the right path. What prompted you to start Passionately Curious?
So, like, I have always thought that there is more to life than just getting a job, and just like in India especially, that's a predominant mindset. Like, how do you live a good life? You do your MBA from a famous institute and get a corporate job, and then just like that's it. Uh, and for me, it was always like, no, this can't be it. This just can't be it. And I didn't know what could it be, because I just saw Steve Jobs and people like Drew Houston and Steve Jobs. So I just saw them, and I like, okay, is the multi-million dollar startup the alternative to not having a corporate job or stuff? But I was always curious about it, and I read Creativity Incorporated by Kat Moll, who is the Pixar president, and it gave me certain idea about creativity. I read Siddhartha by Herman Hesse, which was a very which gave me a very deep connection with myself. And I then started reading Creative Confidence by David Kelly, which talked about design thinking, and I became obsessed with design thinking, because it seemed like the thing that I was like always talking about, like this is how things should be like. And so taking all of this, and more than that, Tanya, I was interacting with these young 20-year-olds almost on a daily basis, teaching them in university or in their institute. And I would see all of them afraid, and all of them thinking, if I don't clear this exam, which has a 1% success rate, my life is doomed. Like, and these are like young 20-year-olds, top of the intelligence curve people in the country. And year on year, I'm seeing them showing me the same thing, and it just became very frustrating for me. Like, and so I got together with three of my students started working with me when we initially started in 2018, and we just started doing design thinking projects, design thinking courses, and just out of curiosity, and it was fun, like it was just learning for fun. And when we kept doing, we didn't even have the name passionately curious when we were doing that, and but we kept doing our projects, and we were like, this is fun, and then we used design thinking to come up with the name passionately curious. And then it has evolved over the last 5 years from helping those young 20-year-olds in India to now focusing mostly on people who have already committed to the independent path. So, because the thing that I learned through this journey was people who are not yet committed to the path, making them shift doesn't make, like, is not a good uh, business strategy as well. And otherwise also, like, the cultural clash was tremendous. So but now when we are serving people who are already committed to being a freelancer, who are already saying, hey, I don't want a job, but I need to, like, successfully do what I want to do on my own, then a lot of things are now making sense, and passionately curious as a clear, like, yeah, what, who's it for, what's it for, is now more settled in over. So it was not like we started thinking that, but now it's like through iteration it has reached a point where it makes more sense.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, how many students have you worked with over the years?
In passionately curious, I started working with like a very small groups, and it was more personalized for them. So over the last 3 4 years, we have interacted with around 50 to 60 people only. Like, that was the
Mm-hmm.
size that we kept intentionally, so that everybody was connected to each other and everybody was helping each other. Over the years, I have taught more than 10,000 students since 2012. So, like, that was a
Mm-hmm.
time when I was teaching at other institutes, and there the numbers were much more. But the recent experience at Passionately Curious, it showed me how much is possible when people are given a free space to raise their hand, or free space to share their desires, share their goals, or, like, or if they are struggling with resistance, having a community or having a coach, how does that help them take those baby steps forward, which lead them towards their goals.
So, you've talked about design thinking. You've been very influenced by design thinking and things that you've read and different people you've learned from. Your design thinking approach is, I think, what jumped out at me in the language that you use to describe the work that you do. You explain that you help independent professionals understand their preferred business architecture. I haven't, I don't normally see people talk about business architecture. And I'm now that you've been talking about design thinking, I'm thinking that that is where this phrase is this phrase that you have is rooted in that. Can you explain or describe design thinking to people who are unfamiliar with that approach?
Definitely. So I'll share what I understand of design thinking, and also how the different business architecture is relevant for the independent professionals. So, design thinking is very closely related to the kind of marketing that Seth Godin teaches. Like, this is marketing is a, I feel it's a design thinking book more than a marketing book, and it all comes down to who are you serving and what are you trying to do for them. So, design thinking is about taking the focus away from the creator, away from the person who is doing it, and towards the person that we are trying to serve. And that brings in the key component, which is empathy, which is really hard. And empathy is hard because we we ourselves are feeling so many things. Like, we are feeling fear, we are feeling passion, we are feeling excited, we are feeling anxious. Like, we are, when we are doing something, there are so many feelings that we, like, we I myself am feeling. And then I'm doing this course to teach the students. So it doesn't matter what I feel because the course is for the students and not for me. So for me to like keep my feelings here, saying that, hey, I'll come back to you, but let me see how somebody who's entering my place, how do they feel? Like, are they feeling nervous? Because I'm not feeling nervous in my on my website or on my Basecamp, for instance, but for them it might be the first time they're using Basecamp, or it might be the first time they are in a cohort-based course, or first time they are part of an online community. So, like, just going there, and it's an effort. It's not like 100% you will know what they're feeling, so you're asserting, but that emotional labor of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and designing for them rather than for you, that is like, that is where, that is how I understand design thinking. So how Seth Godin keeps asking who's it for and what's it for, so that is like design thinking's 101. Like, if you can tell whatever I'm making, it's for this person, and this is what it will do for them, it's just, yeah, you make much better things for the people you serve. In terms of the business, is that what you were asking regarding design thinking?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, in terms of business architecture, I'll tell you why I care so much about business architecture. Is uh, in 2020 January is the first time I learned something from Seth. Like, I hadn't really gone through any of his material before that, and he has a podcast called Startup School, and in that podcast, the first episode, he asked a question. He's like, "Are you an entrepreneur or a freelancer?" And I just thought like freelancers are people who go on Upwork and do graphic design and are paid very badly. And so I was like, no, I am not a freelancer. I am an entrepreneur. Like, are you kidding me? And Seth says, I am a freelancer. And I was thinking, does he go to Upwork and do all this graphic design? Why is he saying he's a freelancer? And then he starts explaining and he starts saying, hey, I like to write my own books, I like to write my own blog, I am here speaking in this podcast. And 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 then it just clicked that I have always been a freelancer. Like, I am so finicky about how each and everything is done that I just can't delegate it. And then I understood, like, oh, I'm not a person who is an entrepreneur. And that is important because until then, all the people who I had seen who were independent were all entrepreneurs. Like, they had set up this big institute and hired other teachers, whether it was my dance studio where I learned dance, or it was the institutes that I was teaching, or the university. Everywhere I saw like people hiring people and building an organization, and I didn't know any successful freelancer till then. And just that one thought changed everything for me, because after that, when had to do something, I was like, yeah, I'm a freelancer, I do stuff. And I didn't think, oh, I have to hire someone, and like, this is not what I should do, and so on. Like, that is one. Second thing is something that really frustrates me right now also, is like there's so much noise on social media about $1 million businesses or $100 million businesses, or like people coming and saying, hey, I went from 0 to 100 on Twitter, 0 to 1 million on Twitter using this, learn this from me, and so on. And a lot of very sincere freelancers, very hardworking, very genuine people get affected by all of that. And whereas what they are needing is maybe four clients who pay $800 a month, and they would be good, something like that, somewhere between like $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and they would be like, yeah, I can keep doing what I want to do, and it will be a good life, and I will not be struggling for money, and I don't have to take a job. But because of this passive income thing, the like immediate returns thing, and like the spammy marketing thing, a lot of them feel like paralyzed, because then these people teach that you have to have the perfect email funnel so that people will automatically jump into your email, and then they will start buying, and you will have money coming in day in and day out. And they actually don't want that. They want to sincerely work for their clients and deliver magic through their hard work. And so again, that's where the business architecture comes in. Again, is like, what is your income goal? How many clients do you need? What all assets do you need to build in order to build the trust with these clients? And that's where empathy and connection and design thinking comes in. And getting away from the noise, which is like get rich quick kind of products, or earn while you sleep, or whether you want to do that or not, but the the intensity of noise is so much that people get affected by it.
Okay, so your business architecture approach, you are helping people see a way forward that feels more like them, looks more like them,
Yeah.
is more comfortable, is more practical for them. So it's going to look different for everybody. And what has been the response with all the people that you've worked with, especially the students, when they realize that they don't need to become a company of 10,000 people?
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're asking this, because I'm just running my marketing bootcamp right now, and the response there has been amazing, because the things that you said, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. Like, anytime someone says, I like, there is a friend of mine who says, yeah, I gotta do that if I have to be in business. Like, with that attitude, like, I have to do that thing because you have to do it. You have to do it. And I'm like, no, no, you can't do anything because you have to do it. And so my goal as a person who is there is to help them see whatever they do, they should be comfortable with it. Not comfortable in the sense of comfortable, the resistance comfortable, like being in the comfort zone, but not like it should not make it icky for them. It should not be like, I hate doing this, but I should do this because somebody told me that I have to do this. And but also to stop them from hiding. So there's this tension where at one end they might feel like doing, they might feel like forced to do things they don't want to do. On the other hand, they don't do anything because the hiding or the self doubt takes over. And how do you come to the center is you understand. So for instance, in my marketing boot camp, in my marketing course, I start with finding your why are you doing this. Like, you have an option of earning money through 10,000 means. Why are you taking this tough part of being a freelancer, of being an independent person? And people share their personal stories of why they are doing it. And from there we get to know that who they want to support, because their why has to be aligned with the audience. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense. And once they understand their audience, then that empathy comes in, and then we start working on the generosity aspect. So I ask them to visualize one human being who they want to serve, and I say, now you know something that she doesn't know, and do you want to keep it to yourself, or do you want to teach her? Do you want to serve her? Do you want to enable her to take action? So it the whole idea shifts from, I need to get more clients so that I can pay my bills, or so that I can do XYZ, to, I am doing this because the additional client I get is going to be so happy because they hired me, because they won't get someone who is as dedicated or as friendly or as personable as me to help them. So helping them see how difficult it is to hire a hire a good freelancer, hire a friendly freelancer, hire someone you can trust with your work. And so once they start seeing that, once I start saying, like, go and find an alternative to you for your current client. Because before that they are like, yeah, they can hire someone else, but I'm like, okay, but they want somebody like you. Now go and find. And then they're like, okay, now I get it, how difficult it is to and they start appreciating them. So a lot of it has to be that we start appreciating what we are bringing to the table. And until you are in a cohort where people point out that, hey, you have a very good sense of humor, like you lighten up the room whenever you join the room, like they won't realize that they are bringing that to the table. They would keep thinking that, hey, I just do graphic design, or I just do podcast management, or I just do. So that human part, that, so that is yeah, that this entire game is just human beings serving other human beings, and we just come to that and we take out everything else. And we can't use the internet as an excuse to do stuff which we would not do to someone in person. So if you are sending an email and you would not say the same thing to the person in person, you're not allowed to send that email.
Yeah.
Like your urgency of, oh, the discount will go away in 3 hours, so you have to sign up. Like, you won't do that. Like, and if you're doing that on the road, people will just not be your friends anymore. So yeah, so the internet doesn't become an excuse that since I can't see you, that allows me not to treat it like human beings serving other human beings.
That's beautiful. That is a really good guideline to follow. It's a really good thing to keep in mind. Um, when with the people you've worked with, why have they chosen an independent path? What's been in general, and just in general, and the general patterns and themes that you've seen? What has been their inspiration to work independently?
I think I think it's evolving. COVID played a big role, and there are multiple things that are shifting in the last 3 to 5 years. I think that are changing the way we work, uh, and the recent layoffs, tech layoffs, have even like compounded it, because a lot of people who were really good and could have worked independently and earned maybe double of what they're earning and worked half of what they're working for would not leave their jobs earlier, because they would say, hey, I need the security of the job or the stability of the paycheck. But now, like, seeing people being laid off in like tons, everybody is realizing, hey, this is not as safe and secure as I thought it was. And so the culture is changing, definitely. I think everyone is aware now that the way we work is evolving. We are having this conversation right now, right? Like 5 years ago, 2015, we would be like, yeah, you come to New York or I come to India, and we'll have a like spend like tens of thousands of dollars to have this conversation. And now we are just like doing it. So I think the global remote teams are a big advantage for everyone right now. Any company who is not going towards that path is losing on a big talent pool. And people who are really good at their work, they don't want to be like limited by the geography or the or or the, yeah, conditions where they are situated. So those things are happening. COVID also gave people a simulation of how life could be without going to the office, and how they can make their ends meet without going to the office. And people have started realizing, hey, I can spend more time with my kids. I can actually drop them to school and bring them back, and I don't need to ask permission from anyone. So we are more and more moving towards a culture where we don't look at a job as a huge favor someone is doing on us, that, hey, I got a job finally, like, oh my god, they hired. It's like we are realizing, hey, we are talented and we are hardworking and we are empathetic and we are creators and leaders. And so we are like, okay, you want me to work for you, this is how we can work together and stuff, rather than saying, hey, you dictate the terms and I will follow your terms. So I think different people are doing it for different reasons. A lot of married people who have kids are doing it because they don't want to like compromise their family life completely in order to like do a full-time job or shift to another city and stuff. A lot of youngsters who are in their 20s are doing it because they want to travel the world and learn about different cultures and stay in different places and not just stay in. So the motivations are different, definitely, but the shift is, I think, quite now tangible. Now it's not a temporary fad that would go away. It's like, uh, and the slow companies are slow. And in India, like for instance, almost every company is like come back to office and commute for 2 hours every day in the traffic. And but those companies will start losing out to the companies who innovate and who move forward fast. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When I started my project in it's also 2018, I started with a survey and to ask just to get a feel and to explore this hunch that I had. And 43 independent and formal educators responded to this survey, and their reasons for choosing an independent path echo what you have just said. It was, they wanted to create the programs that they wanted to create. They saw a need for a program or for some type of a learning or experience that did not exist. One person was motivated by something that was missing in their child's school. Others just wanted to create different types of programs and strive for more regular work, environmental education, and all. There's a lot of seasonal and part-time, lower paying type work because it's seasonal work,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they just wanted something else, and they had an idea to explore, and they wanted to explore that. And reflecting on my path, you mentioned that people want to time off without asking permission, and this asking permission thing is the is the issue that went way back, even when I was in college and had the part-time jobs in retail stores and all that. I resented having to ask permission to go to a big family event or to go to to my grandma's house for 50th anniversary or whatever, for something. I never liked that. How many
I
how
think
many
can
Go
can
ahead.
I
Mhm,
add a bit to that? Like I think this is, I feel like this is the most wonderful time to be people like us, like people who want to say, hey, I don't like this, I want to change that, and I want to like just raise my hand and do that without asking for permission. I think in the last, since 2018, like Zoom was a big deal changer because Zoom allowed us to teach or interact without having a renting a physical space or being in the same location. Like, so that was a big. But now I think with the carbon and neck experience and all of this, we can see how it's one of the best times to be the ruckus maker. Like, it's like now, apart from your own resistance, there is nothing else that is stopping you from making your ruckus, like, which earlier had different kind of limitations where you were bound by your geography or bound by the politics of where you're situated. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, yes. I love being working on a distributed team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
so suits my personality and just everything. And yeah, and you're right. The Carbon Almanac experience, for listeners, both Saurabh and I work on the team at the Carbon Almanac. We're part of that network, and yeah, that just blew the door open about what is possible
Yeah. Yeah.
and what collaborative work can look like.
Yeah.
It's just a whole new standard.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a
Yes.
wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How many industries or sectors do you work with? The people who you work with, how
Mhm.
many sectors do they represent?
So I don't have a fixed criteria over the industry or sector. For me, what matters is you're your own boss. So anyone who says, "Hey, I have a boss," and so whatever we discuss, and finally they say my boss would not agree, is very difficult to like move forward with that. So that is a big criteria, and I like to work with people who want to stay independent. So anyone who's looking for funding or investors or something, I just feel like that is not my audience, because their focus is not on the customer, their focus is on the investor, and that changes the whole business dynamics completely. So apart from that, I think I like working with anyone who just says, "Hey, I'm a student, but I want to work on the side project," or "I am a 65-year-old person, but I had this dream of working on like this issue." And so after that, I don't have any limitations on what you should be doing, or what industry you're in, or what kind of, because mostly mm, the work that I do is to enable you to show up as your best self. And once you start showing up as your best self, you know what to do. My role is just that voice of self doubt and voice of wisdom inside you. I just like help you figure out at times which is which, and once people figure it out, then they start moving forward. So yeah, I have worked with relationship coaches, I have worked with virtual assistants, I have worked with graphic designers, brand designers, I've worked with podcast managers, I've worked with writers, podcasters. Yeah, so there is no, like, yeah, for me there is no yeah, that question doesn't exist. Like, if you are in this industry, then come to me. That is not there.
That is great. And I love how you made that distinction to not work with people who were looking for funding and investors and all that. Because when you said that, I said, "Oh, that is so smart." I thought, because that truly, that you're making that distinction between someone who wants to remain independent, as you said, and working the way that they do, and someone who has a vision of becoming, to borrow an expression from Michael Gerber, the author of the E-Myth, to move away from being a company of one to a company of 10,000. That's a great
There is
distinction.
nothing wrong with that,
Oh, no,
but
no, not at all.
I feel like I generally feel the best way to even become a company of 10,000 is to focus on the customer. And it was a very difficult decision for me, especially I'm in Bangalore, which is the hub of startups in India, and all the people who I would physically meet here would not say, "Hey, I want to be independent," would say, "How can I get my funding, or how can I like scale fast?" And so that's why like my audience is less in India and more abroad. But I just again went from my why of why I am doing this work, because if I have to just earn money, there are much more easier things to do. And for me, it was this, helping people do what they want without having someone over their head. And I think the success here is so sweet. It's just like when I help someone get a new client, or like just help them take action, move forward, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. Like, I don't think $100 million funding would match the excitement of a freelancer who says, "Hey, I got a new client," and yeah, so so yeah.
Your face just lit up when you shared that. Yeah, I
Okay,
can
thank
see
you.
you are energized by the work that you do. What is, in general terms, again, what is the top obstacle that you
Mhm.
find with people who choose the independent path? What is their top challenge?
The biggest challenge is that we have spent decades in institutions that have trained us to follow instructions, and that have trained us to look at something that is not working and ignore it. And if we try to fix it, then we get scolded. Like, who asked you to go and close that tab? Or who asked you to uh, like that initiative has not been something that has been prized, or that has been like we have been motivated to just raise our hand and say, hey, uh, I like one of the things that I was talking to someone a few years back is like in our schools we have like thousands of people, and we have like people who are 1 year ahead of us, 2 years, 5 years ahead of us, in front of us. If every day the school just said go and make a new friend in a different year, just every day you go and say, hi, I'm Saurabh, I wanted to make you my new friend, what's your name, you would live such a beautiful life, because you would have, at every point in your life you would have people who are like, when you have a kid you have someone who had a kid 3 years ago, when you have a job, like everything, and all that possibility is existing in that small building, and we are just saying no, you just stay with your 3 4 people, and everyone is with their 3 4 people or their classroom or their section. And so when we become independent, many times we are waiting for the instruction. We are we are getting into that mindset that if I don't send that email, nothing bad will happen at the end of the day, instead of saying, hey, it will be exciting to send that email. And that is a real psychological challenge, that especially people who are working alone or who take up this challenge alone, like for me, I struggled for a lot of years because I was alone, because everyone I knew was either in a job or in a college. So when I shared my struggles with them, they were like, duh, what's that? Like, that's not even a struggle. Why don't you do the work? Why don't you succeed? Why are you even trying to do this? But when I have my circle now, and when I share that, hey, this just happened and I'm feeling very nervous about it, and then they share their story, that yeah, that happened with me also a couple of months back, and this is how I handled it. Like, it becomes a different volume. So I think shifting from that, waiting from instruction mode, to taking the leap mode. And the analogy I use for this is like, this is summer vacations. So in India, we had like 2 months of summer vacation every year in school. And every kid before the summer vacation started thought, I will do this and I will do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. Like, these 2 months are going to be the best months of my life. And suddenly you realize that it's already over, and like school is starting. And so I tell like anyone who is like, hey, should I leave my job to become independent, I'm like, okay, this is the challenge. You have to make your summer vacations productive. And and, and also what I'm seeing, and it's also like accelerating because of chat gpt and AI tools, is like now the jobs are also independent professions. Like, very soon in your job, in 4 or 5 years, you nobody wants to manage you, uh, nobody wants to ask you at the end of the day, hey, did you get this thing done? So the same challenge leaders are also facing in companies is like, they are their own boss. They have a designated boss, but they don't have a manager. So that's, I think, the biggest like learning curve for people.
Hmm. So, how do you work with your clients? What type of support structures, scaffolding experiences do you provide for the people that you work with? When someone comes up to work with you, what can they expect?
I provide three different services. So one is one-on-one coaching, which is the most effective, I feel, because the whole idea of one-on. So I'll just digress a bit and explain coaching versus something else. So coaching is is helping the other person identify where they want to go, and then to become a companion on their journey. And that is what I have realized over time, that that is what coaching is. And once they have a companion who keeps asking, hey, why are we going here, what are we doing, this, like, people start moving towards their goals instead of letting resistance win. So one of the ways is this, where I listen mostly to what where people want to go to, what is stopping them from going there, what is the action step that can help them move forward, and how can I help them take that action. The second pillar, I would say, is bridging the knowledge and skill gap when it comes to marketing and sales, because almost everyone I'm working with is really good at what they do. So people who are doing design are really good at design. People who are doing podcast management are really good at podcast management. People who are writing are really good at writing, but they don't have, many times they don't have the skill set or the knowledge set of how do I get clients, how do I help them sign up with me, how do I keep it consistent, like so that is something that I help people through cohort based courses. And the third thing which I'm really excited about, because we are launching it this month in a different version, is our community, where people people like us come together. So if you feel like, hey, I am stuck with a business decision, should I do this or this, you can ask your fellows, hey, can you guys come on a Zoom and let's have a spotlight session for me, or have a weekly accountability call where you share what you are going to do and how you are making progress, and have monthly review calls and all that. So these are the three pillars of how I feel uh, I can best serve the people I seek to serve.
Yes, nice. You are so clear on your mission and how to provide that scaffolding for people on different parts of their journey. I love this. This is very exciting. Very exciting. Okay, so you are very very busy person. You write every day for your blog. You have a podcast. You provide one-on-one coaching. You are helping people define who their clients are and how to make this very intimidating leap to
Yeah.
creating consistent work and maintaining relationships with clients. And you are launching a brand new community with monthly calls and all sorts of different ways of supporting people real time on a daily basis. So you've got all this stuff going on. What's next for you?
I think this is the work, like this is the work where I don't feel like running away from it. Like all my life, whatever I have been doing, I felt like, okay, this is not right and I need to like do something else. But this is like a very, very nice place for me, where I'm creating the impact I want to create and doing it the way I want to do. The next thing for me, I feel, is to write books, because I feel I like, if the people who helped me become who I became, if they didn't write books, I wouldn't be here. And so books are very close to my heart. And so that is one definite uh, thing that I want to start doing consistently, uh, is to write books. And apart from that, I just feel like, yeah, this is this that I am, yeah, I don't feel attracted towards another project right now than this, apart from just making it more scalable and reaching more people and helping them out.
Yeah, I can see from your expression on your face and your body language, your heart is full. You feel you are where you need to be. You are doing what you feel you need to be doing, and you are doing it very well. You're helping a lot of people.
But I feel like it's not about helping other people as much as it's being my own best self, because I feel easy when I'm doing this kind of work, and when I'm not doing this kind of work, then I feel a lot of dissonance in life and uh, s- emotional struggles. But when I'm when I'm in this space, when I'm taking action and like, yeah, moving things forward, I just feel much more at peace. So, like Liz Gilbert talked about this in her book, Big Magic, which I would highly recommend to anyone. And she says, like, don't do what you do to help others. It's like do it because you love doing it. As a side effect, if somebody gets helped, great. But when you start saying that I'm doing this because it will help others, then it kind of creates that messiah complex, and then we start making decisions which we can't really digest, and but we are saying, but I am on my way to help people, so I have to do that. But yeah, so that pressure is not really helpful in our journey. So the intent is there, but we are doing it because we are choosing to do it, and nobody is like, it's not altruistic at all. It's very, it's generous, but it's also selfish in the sense that it helps you be your best self. So
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yep. Well said. Well said. Everybody listening to this has a calling, has some reason they are moved emotionally to do what they do. And yeah, as you just shared, if it helps somebody else, then that's a bonus. All right.
that's a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
bonus. Where can people learn more about you online?
My website is passionatelycurious.in. In is India. So that is the home base. They can go there. I write a daily blog, so that would be the best way to stay in touch with me. If they subscribe and reply to my blog, it would come directly to my mailbox. I'm on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, if they search Saurabh Mithal, like they can connect with me or follow me. Yeah, this is, yeah, I think these two channels are where I am reachable. My email is saurabh at passionatelycurious.in. So anyone who wants to directly reach. And I love having coffee chats. So yeah, if anyone just wants to, yeah, have a short coffee chat. I'm just a big fan of coffee chats. They create so much possibility, and as long as I can afford to have them, and I'm not like, I have some time which I can make for coffee chats, I would continue doing that. So
Yes. Yes, you're very good at coffee chats. You've shown me the value of coffee chats. So thank you for that.
yeah, no, I am so grateful for our interaction, and yes, it became more tangible through the coffee chat. So yeah, I am just very grateful to be able to call you my friend. It's a big privilege for me.
Oh, well, thank you, Sarah. and me, you. I learned from you. What you write every day in your blog it's very insightful, and it always touches some part of me. It resonates. It lands. It always makes me think.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Like you saying that. Yeah. Thank you.
To learn more about Saurabh, Passionately Curious, and how he works with independent professionals, visit the links in the show notes. Here you will also find links to the resources that we talked about in this episode, and a link to Saurabh's LinkedIn profile. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you next time.